Well, it's about an hour before we head off to Living History Farms today. I'm going to make this a day early before you guys actually see it, but I'm pretty excited to go to Living History Farms. I want to see if I can get some kid to do the outhouse challenge again to see if they can sit in the outhouse for 5 minutes without throwing up. So that was always exciting. I don't really remember when you guys went to Living History Farms, if I went that year or not, but I specifically remember last year Blake Henningsen almost having to upcheck from sitting in there, but it was a good time though. So hopefully you guys have a good day or had a good day yesterday. And um, today we're gonna do kind of one more practice round of this. And Monday I'm looking at having a pretty big size test over all this algebra stuff we've been talking about so far. More of almost a high school style test anyway, just to kind of we'll do things every once in a while to prepare you for that, and this will be one of those things, and we'll make it pretty big. You just got to remember that you got all your notes and you've got everything that you can study, look at the problems. You've got a lot of resources to use, so you should be prepared. For today, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some decimals and some fractions in here. Try to make it a little bit more confusing. It really shouldn't be, but we'll kind of see how this goes here. And for this first problem, I'm actually going to show you two different ways to do it. And then you can kind of choose, it's always up to you. But for this one right here, we've got all decimals, and then we've got this fraction right here. I would recommend just doing it one way or the other. If you're going to have all fractions, have all fractions. If it's going to be all decimals, have all decimals. So I'm going to change this 1/4, I think. The easiest thing will be just to change it to a decimal. And everybody should know what 1/4 would be. If you don't, you can just do 1 divided by 4 on a calculator, and you would get 0.25. Okay. Now we just need to do the distributive property. You can do this actually computation-wise. You can use a calculator. It really does not matter to me as long as you can do it. So we would start with 5 times basically everything here. So 5 times 25 hundredths is going to be 1 25 hundredths y. 5 times 7 tenths is going to be a positive 3 5 tenths y. 5 times 3 tenths is going to be 1 5 tenths y. And then the last part, if I do 5 times my 25 hundredths again, which is what we had over here, we again get positive 1.25 y. They all have y at the end of them, so we'll just put everything together here. I'll put the y at the end of it, and then if I add these together, let's see, we'd have one whole with those 0.5s. 3 plus 1 would be 4, plus the whole would be 5, 6, 7, 7.25, 7.5. So we're just going to have 7.5 y, and that would be your final answer for this one. Now I'm going to load this back up here and show you a different way to do this fraction-wise. Alright, still the same problem, but I want to show you a different way to do this. If you like working with fractions better, we can just change them all to fractions. Okay, 25 hundredths, 0.25 is just the same as a fourth. 7 tenths would just be exactly how it sounds, 7 tenths. And then 3 tenths, that would be exactly how it sounds. And we could just do 3 tenths. Now, I can just look and see that we're going to eventually add these together, and we've got different denominators. So I would just make the denominators the same right off the bat, and I think that'll be an easy start to help you out. The easiest way to do this, I think, is just to find a number that both 10 and 4 go into, and the smaller the better. So we could use 40, which would work out just fine if you can't think of one, but 20 would also work. So I'm just basically going to rewrite this here. We got to make the bottom number 20, so that would be a times 5 and a times 5, and this will all come back to you if you forget it real quick. So we have 5 20ths y plus, so that would be a times 2 and a times 2, so we would have a 14 20ths y. and then we've got a times 2 times 2, and we've got what would be 6/20 y, and then we've got a this is going to be the same as the first one, times 5 times 5, so we'd have a plus 5/20 y, and then we'd have the 5 on the outside. Okay, everything in here is going to be times by 5, and 5 is the same thing as 5/1. So basically when I'm multiplying this together, if I'm doing it, I'll put this up down here just to show you, if I do 5/20 times 5/1, I'm still going to have 20 on the bottom, I'm going to have 25 on the top. So I'm just going to rewrite all these as if I was timesing it by 5. So if I did 5/20 times 5/1, that's just going to be 25/20y plus, and then same thing here, the bottom number is still going to be, I'll put the y over here, bottom number is still going to be 20 because we times the bottom by 1, but the top by 5. 14 times 5 is going to be 70, I think, off the top of my head. Let's see, bottom number is still going to be 20. 6 times 5 would be 30 y, and the last one's the same as the first one. It's going to be 25/20 y. Okay? Now all we have to do is add together, and the nice thing about it is, since we did the common denominators to start with, we've already got them down here, which makes it a lot easier. So if I start adding things together, let's see, 70 and 30 would be 100, 25 and 25 would be 50, so that's going to be 150 out of 20. So then I'd probably just need to change that into something we can use, make it into some wholes. 20 goes into 105 times, so we're going 126 times and 147 times with 10 left over out of 20. And if I reduce this down, it's just going to be 7/10/20. This is going to be a half. And that's actually what our first one came out to be. If you think back, 7.5 is the same thing as 7.5.